something, but I couldn't get it done in the end, but I'll show you what I was trying to do. Let me share my screen real quick. So essentially what I was trying to do is kind of see, you know, what are other things you can do with local storage, right? Because I think last time we went over of essentially you can kind of set items and in local storage, and like you could say, okay, set item favorite flavor vanilla, and then you can get that thing back with a get item, and then you can also remove those things as well. So one thing I kind of want to go over today is almost you can use local storage almost like I would say a NoSQL database. So all a NoSQL database is basically is you store things in like a JSON like format, right? And so essentially what we could do is if you if you're like making a game, right? So I'm going to be making a Tetris game, and I'm going to want to be saving the high scores on that Tetris game. So essentially what I'm going to do every time is every time somebody completes a game, I'm going to save the high score to local storage. But I'm going to also have different attributes associated with that. I'm going to have their name as well, and maybe like a nickname or something. So in order to do that, we could create some type of object, right? So we imagine in this case we're using some car right here. And what's interesting is when you just try to save this car object like this, you actually get something that looks like this in this regard right here. You don't actually get sorry, you're actually gonna get something more like this. You're gonna get just like a string. And so oh yeah, actually it says it's just going to show as an object and not as the real object information. So we want to get the object information from it instead. So this is like console.log after you've stored this. And so in order to do so, in order to get that object back in an object form that you can use in JavaScript, you actually can use the JSON. And so you can use this JSON stringify and JSON parse right here. So essentially what we're doing is we get this car object, we create it, and then we're going to set the item using local storage, this car, and then we're going to convert it to a string first, a JSON string, using this JSON.stringify. And then what we can do is we can then JSON parse that local storage get item, right? So now we're going to local storage get this item car, and then we're going to convert it back into JSON. And essentially it's an object that we can use, like shown here. So this is something that's, I would say, very beneficial for very oh yeah. Have you guys seen my screen this whole time or no?
Yes, but I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And because I'm just learning the JSON stuff. So when I was doing it the other day with my Ajax call, when I wanted to get like the individual items, I had to put like, I can't remember off the top of my head, but in your instance, it seems like I'd have to put like object.car.name to just isolate that one. Is that how this works on here? Or do you always just get all the pieces?
So you would get all the pieces in this case right here. If you read it, say if you read this whole line right here into a variable, it would store it in a variable like car, and then you could call it car.wheels to get wheels, car.door to get door, and stuff like that.
Okay.
So you wouldn't need that extra object.
Okay, that makes sense.
Let's see. So yeah, that's that. And so some ways that you can use that, I don't know, they use this more in the real world, is like this guy was talking about. He basically can store all this data in JSON and then call it. So he says the first time you call this this service, which basically brings up like names and geographical locations, it takes 20 seconds to load, and then the next time you call it, it doesn't take any time at all. So it's stuff like that, basically reduce loading times in that regard. And before they did this with cookies, but there was numerous limitations with those. Another one, this one's not really applicable. This one's actually pretty interesting though. So the dark side of local storage. It's interesting. This kind of famous hacker kind of guy, um, he made this Evercookie. And so what this Evercookie basically does is it's a JavaScript API that basically, no matter what you do to remove all your cookies and things from the browser, it finds a way to reestablish it like automatically. It's pretty interesting. So I wonder if by just clicking on this page, it's running it on my computer. So maybe don't run it on yours, but yeah. So just some interesting things. So you can use it for good, but also bad. So yeah. Any questions? And then one thing I was going to show you is I was gonna couple like local storage and Ajax and what else was I going to do? Local storage, Ajax, and JSON all together to show you guys, and some DOM manipulation. If I have this done by the end, I'll show you guys. But yeah, this is just kind of some things you could do. Essentially, is you could add things to a local storage by a button, right, on an input. That's basically what I'm going to do. I was going to have the two things inputted here, and then I can add it to local storage. That's what I'm going to do when I get that figured out. So yeah, any questions? All right, so I guess we'll move on to Tim. Is that next, Tim? Or Dane, sorry.
To me, Dane.
Okay, sorry, Dane. All right,
No
I'm
problem.
gonna put you on the screen now. I'm gonna stop presenting.
Thank you, Michael.
No worries.
Okay, can you guys see the screen?
No.
I just see black.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay. There you guys see.
I see your
Okay,
code
so my
now.
two topics. My two topics. Manipulating CSS.
Dane, I don't think your connection's very good, at least on my end.
With JavaScript. Java. So this my. I mean, the internet doesn't read sometimes, so I'm sorry. I'll tell you though, so hopefully you can. This is my file for switching classes and all that. I just have a body that has one class that I named demo1, a button that calls a function switcheroo, and then just some basic elements so we can kind of see what I found. Functions that kind of facilitate around vanilla JavaScript. I have to do is just call this toggle to turn to on to.
Your audio is a little hard to follow because I think your internet connection, so you might have to repeat some things. Just letting you know.
Okay. So I have this button, and you can see all of this in that file. And if I click the button, It changes the font. You can see it actually changes the bullet. You can change colors. Whatever. It's a really simple top and go on there.
I'm sorry, Dean. I think your connection's too slow to do your video and your audio. So I just can't even hear you at all.
I'm not getting anything either.
He might have froze because stuck.
So the cool thing about what he's doing is that his topic is overlapping my topic. So in case you did everybody catch what he was doing?
I sort of got the idea of where he was going.
So he's using JavaScript to change his CSS. And so he's set up a couple classes, and with that on-click button, he's changing the classes that are applying to it, which is what I was trying to do and didn't do on mine. So it's kind of good that we're going to overlap each other a little bit.
Yeah, I think he froze. So do we want to move on to you, Dawn?
Sure.
Okay.
During the segue, an interesting thing, he made functions to toggle the classes. There's
Yes.
actually a toggle function that you can just use.
Oh, so it looks like he's going to leave. He knows he's okay. So he's leaving and coming back. So he made a function to, yeah. And that's the thing I'm noticing is that there's multiple ways to do the same item. And whereas I'm more comfortable of using pure CSS to transform the things, I kind of feel like we're supposed to be incorporating JavaScript. So, oh, he's back.
I think Dane's back. Did you make it back, Dane?
I saw him, but I
Go to
don't
my
hear him.
phone.
Oh,
The laptop I'm on is really old.
Hmm.
That's part of the problem with the connection. I am getting my own laptop tomorrow,
yay.
Okay.
so next week should hopefully be better when I'm teaching.
Okay. Sweet.
But Don, I was just changing back and forth between the two classes that I set up in my CSS file. And I'll post the links to both of them so you can see. Just really quickly, my JavaScript events. I know we're supposed to focus on like the mobile, like the touch events and everything, but that's fairly simple. I did find out that you can create your own JavaScript events with custom information and kind of send it through. So I'll post my page on that too, and you can kind of see the code and everything. But it's pretty cool that you can create your own events and then.
Yeah, we actually do a ton of that at work. Our whole UI is driven by custom events and timing.
Well, then you guys can help me because that's where that's just where I'm struggling. And honestly, I just probably haven't put enough time into it, but trying to get my events and doing those properly is where I was telling them, Dane, that your topic's overlapping my topic, but you showed them how to do the part I couldn't get to work. So it worked out good.
Nice. But yeah, let's move on to Don. I'm sorry my presentation isn't working though, guys.
I think we've all had problems before, so I wouldn't.
That's life.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to do it different than I did before, so I'm trying to set it up here for you. Usually I just share the browser window, but this time I'll try doing it a different way. You get to see that I have a bajillion things open, which is kind of how I roll. But okay, so right now I have a big screen, so let me know if you're seeing it. You should be seeing brackets and then also the render of my page. Can you guys see all that?
I can.
Okay, okay, good. So I had transforms, and I apologize. I just didn't get as much done. So I have a couple other things I wanted to do. So what I'll probably do is make you guys a quick screen. I can't think of it. Screen capture. Anyways, I'll make a quick video on the other one and post it when I get that done. So like I was saying, with the CSS transforms, a lot of times you don't even need JavaScript. So right now on this one, I have this card flip here, and it's just using the hover from CSS to do that and to trigger it. And I thought this would be a good one to look at for mobile development because you don't have a lot of space on your screen. And so maybe you would want to have something like this where you have like an item and you flip it to see maybe like how big the item is or the cost, or, you know, it just might be a nice way to kind of use your space a little bit better. So what I tried to do was to do that same thing, but on this one, the one with the picture, using a JavaScript, and that's what I just didn't get it done. And so my intent was to have this flip between two different pictures, and I got kind of stuck on it. I think I got stuck in my head more than anything else. So anyways, so back to the flip. If you go to, here's my CSS file. And so this is where I was working on topic 12. So I set up the container that goes around it. So you can kind of see the container over here, see the little shadow and everything. That's the size of the container. So I set all the sizes for that. And then the transform style is this preserve 3D. And then this tells it to transform. So it tells it to rotate it on the y-axis 180 degrees. So that's why it flips horizontally. If I told it to rotate on the x-axis, it would flip top to bottom instead. And so here's all my classes. These are the IDs it's attaching, and then these are the classes. And then if you go back to my code, you can see I have, here's my div ID, the T1 container, and then I have the card, and it's the front face with that image. And then so this next div shows the back face with that image. And so then it just, on the hover, because back in my CSS, I didn't show you that part. On the hovers, oh, right here. On the hover, it tells it to, I talked about the rotate, yeah. So this is on hover, it does that. So that's how it goes between the two of them. That makes sense? Does anybody have any questions?
Not yet. I'm sure when I try and go do something like that on my own, I will.
I know, it's kind of, and I saw a few websites that showed how to do flips, and there's a couple of different ways that you can go about it, but it was just kind of fun to experiment with it. And like I said, now I'm trying to figure out how to do it with get my JavaScript right so I can do it on a click event instead. So that's pretty much all I have, you guys.
That looks good. Any other questions before I stop the stream? We can ask questions after though. All right, I'm going to stop the stream.